Okay, lesson 7 here, clearing fractions. So sometimes we get up into these equations where they have denominators. Like in this example, we've got a denominator of 9 here and a denominator of 27 here. Well, how the heck do we get rid of these? Well, what we want to do is we want to figure out the lowest common denominator between those two numbers. So if we think of the multiples of 9, we've got 9, 18, 27, 36, and so on and so forth. The multiples of 27 are 27, 54, and so on and so forth. And what multiples are would be like 9 times 1 is 9, 9 times 2 is 18, 9 times 3 is 27, 9 times 4 is 36. So these are multiples, okay? We then look at the first number that comes up that's the same for both of them. And in this case, it's 27. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to multiply both sides by 27. And what that does is, for this numerator here, we get 27 times negative 1 over 9. Now you don't have to write this down, but I just kind of want to show you what happens. On the right side, we have 27 times y divided by 27. Okay, well, anything divided by itself is 1. 27 divided by 27 is 1. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 100 divided by 100 is 1. They're all 1. Okay, and this is an important idea. Now, if I take this 27 that's here and I split that up, 27 is the same as 9 times 3. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to change that 27 to 9 times 3 times negative 1 over 9. All right, and the right side we still have 27 times y over 27. Well, what you might notice here is we have a 9 in the numerator and a 9 in the denominator. Well, 9 divided by 9, that's just 1. And on the right side here, we have 27 divided by 27. That's also just 1. So what happens is this 9 and that 9 simplify to just 1. And this 27 and that 27 also simplify to just 1. So really you're left with 1 times 3 times negative 1 is equal to 1 times y. Well, 1 times 3 times negative 1 just leaves you with negative 3. And 1 times y is just y. So there's your solution. By multiplying by the common denominator, we get things that cancel out. Well, that's a bit of work to show all the different multiples. So what we actually do here is you do end up with negative 27 over 9 is equal to 27y over 27. We can cross out what simplifies to 1, and negative 27 over 9 is negative 3. So there's our solution. If we think of the lowest common denominator between 4 and 2, think of the multiples of 4 and 2. So the multiples of 2 are 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 3 is 6, and the multiples of 4, 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8. Well, you might have noticed that 4 and 4 both come up. So we're going to multiply each side by 4. The right side will cancel out. 4 divided by 4 just gives you 1. So you're left with x. Technically, you're left with 1 times x, but you don't have to write the 1. And on the right side here, 4 divided by 2 leaves you with 2. So we're left with 1 times 2. And 1 times 2 is just simply 2. All right, our next example here. Look at the denominators, figure out the multiples. So 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 times 1 is 8. Well, 8 and 8, that's what we want. So multiply each side by 8. The right side will simplify to 1a, and this simplifies to negative 8 over 4. Negative 8 over 4 can reduce to negative 2, and there's your solution. What happens if there's 3 numbers? the same process occurs. Think of the multiples of 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And the multiples of 3. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. And the multiples of 4. 4, 8, 12, 16. Well, 12, 12, and 12 all exist in the multiples of those numbers. So we're going to multiply everything by 12. So you end up with 12x over 4 minus 12x over 3 is equal to 12 over 2. Let's simplify this. 12 divided by 4 gives me 3x. 12 divided by 3 gives me negative 4x. And 12 divided by 2 is 6. Well, 3x minus 4x is negative x, and that equals 6. We don't want negative x, we want positive x, so divide by negative 1. And x equals 6. Sorry, negative 6. Again, for these questions, I'm not going through the check portion for the sake of time, but if you do want to check them, you plug your solution in for the variable. All right, lowest common denominator, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 5, 10, 15, 20. There it is, 20 and 20. So we're going to multiply everything by 20. Not just the stuff with fractions, but also the constants. So we're multiplying this by 20, that by 20, and 1 by 20. So 20y over 4 is equal to 20y over 5 plus 20. 20y over 4 is 5y. 20y over 5 becomes 4y plus 20. Now 4y is less than 5y, so let's subtract 4y from each side, and you end up with y is equaling 20. The lowest common denominator between 3 and 5 is going to be 15. So if we multiply everything by 15, we end up with 15n over 3 plus 30 is equal to 15n over 5 plus 60. 15n over 3 is 5n. 15n over 5 is 3n. 3n is less than 5n, so subtract that. And then subtract 30 from either side, and finally divide by 2, and n equals 15. We have the same denominators as the last question, so again we're going to multiply each side by 15. And you end up with 5 times x plus 1 is equal to 3 times x minus 1. 15 divided by 5 gives you 3. Now you have to use the distributive property. And you get 5x plus 5 is equal to 3x minus 3. 3x is less than 5x, so let's get rid of that one. And then we have to solve this equation. So subtract 5, and you get 2x equals negative 8. Divide by 2, and x equals negative 4. Sometimes we have the variable in the denominator. So we can't really solve equations if we have variables in the denominator. So what you're actually going to do is you're going to multiply each side by that variable. Okay? Now n divided by n follows the same rule as 5 divided by 5. It still equals 1. So this n and that n will actually cancel out, and you're left with 122 is equal to 3 times n. And then if you divide each side by 3, n is going to equal, doesn't simplify any farther, so 122 over 3. The next example, the denominator is p, so multiply each side by p. And p divided by p is 1. So you have 12.5 is equal to negative 2p. And if you divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2, p P is equal to negative 6.25, which is a very silly answer for this type of question, but there it is. So a PAT question, we have 3 over x equals 0.5. Now you can think about this. 0.5 is the same as 1/2. So really we have 3 over x is equal to 1/2. Well, if 3 is half of whatever the thing is, the denominator must be 6, because 3 over 6 is the same as 1/2. Well, to solve it algebraically, you multiply each side by x, and you get 0.5x, and then you divide by 0.5x. And on a calculator, 3 divided by 0.5 is in fact 6. So the answer, you would fill in on your Scantron like that.